Hi guys, to kick this all off on a sure footing, I thought I'd bring you to Grimes Graves, the land where I started my journey. This is a range of over 400 flint mines from the Neolithic period. That's around about 4,000 years ago. It's a stunning sight as we're in the middle of Breckland. The plants, the birds, the insects, the microfauna, it's absolutely fantastic without even thinking about going down into the flint mine itself. But today you're getting a rare and special treat. We're going to be going down into Canon Greenwell's pit. This guy Canon Greenwell's came on this site back in 1868 and he needed to prove what this place was all about. I mean, Grimes Graves denotes that this is like the devil's graveyard, and it was through his studies that he proved it was Neolithic miners breaking down into the ground and getting flint out from quite extortionate depths. You may have noticed that I had to come up a hill to get to you, and it's quite interesting because this is actually the only hill on the site, and it's called the Grimshoe Mound, which is an interesting name all by itself. And right next to it there's a big depression, so our speculation is that this is the first pit that was ever dug on the site, and they didn't have anywhere to put the material that they took out, so they had a hill. Then as they moved forward they would use the next pit and backfill the one they'd just finished. Now I'm quite excited to be taking you into this pit, so let's not hang around too much and get on this exciting journey, hey? Come on. In this video specially made for you, we are going to be descending down into the Canon Greenwell's pit, and there has been over 60 individual digs across this site. Not all of them have gone right down to the base, but all the same, when you think that through, this whole landscape has still got quite a few secrets left within itself. That doesn't mean to say that this one hasn't got them secrets, and I will be able to show you some of that in this video. I call this cracking the seal. This almost opens with a hiss as two worlds collide. I've laid a piece of flint on top of this pit, and I've also laid a deer antler. Just particularly because, you know, looking at this land, we're going directly through 40 foot of chalk. And that's the tool to go through it with, and this is the raw material we're looking for. That in itself is a stunning and a shocking achievement. I think what we have right here is a moment laid before us, much like a fine wine or a cheese that would be savoured for its scent and its flavour. Opening this, you know, we could all too quick just consume it with our eyes, and then it's done. The job is finished. But there's many things on here in this pit. There's many layers, and that's what I'm hoping to share with you today. So let's open it. So I'll get the tripod in place, get myself hooked up, and we'll get down there. Here we go then. On the descent down, as we go through, what you'll see is the different layers of flint that they weren't particularly after. The top one is called topstone, and that's about 18 foot down. When you get down to about 27 foot, you'll see something called wallstone that runs in a nice natural ring. And then finally we'll get down to the bottom at 40 foot and we'll be looking at the floor stone. Cool. Don't know if mate you feel a little bit more secure having this on. So what we've come down is a bell style flint mine, rather than an open cast mine where you'd cut in like a wedge of cheese. This seemed to be a productive way of getting down to this flint. The floor stone that has now mainly been depleted, but there is quite a lot still intact here. Just right here we have a fantastic small piece. You can see the lustre of black with the cortex just here. What I'd like to point out first of all is, since it was originally dug in this flint mine 4,000 years ago, it's had two visitors. In 1868, Greenwell came all the way down here, and when he got to the bottom, he cleared out 3 of the galleries, and there's 6 in total, but he actually came and was able to work out what these pits were all about and satisfied himself from that, and was then able to go off and do his reports. Then in about 1974, they redug this pit and they used a great big crane, and it took them 4 days to clear this out, and then they were able to start their dig from that point. And that was somebody called Seeveking. I believe his name was Gale Seeveking. And he actually explored a lot further and opened out and cleared out all the rest of the chalk from the other galleries, but to a point. So there are areas that have never been explored, and that makes it exciting. Today, I'm going to take you in what we call gallery number 3. And that's got some awesome bits and pieces in there, and the footprint of the miners themselves. So let's go on and explore that. The very first thing we notice is that this is the highest of all of the galleries that are in here. And the reason for that is because the roof collapsed. And the secret being is just here. There's a little line of flint. And it's actually a 2mm band of floor stone that runs throughout the whole flint mine. And that makes the roof really unstable. Considerably so, because the chalk can't adhere to it. But it hasn't done too bad to hold itself up for 4,000 years. So on my way around, I'm going to be minding my head, and I'm going to be minding the girders, because some of them are over 100 years old. Come on, let's go. I remind you at this point that our eyes are in a hurry to claim and put to bed the fact that you've been in such an ancient place. Right guys, I really need you down here with me. I've got something I need to show you. Come on. And don't bump into the girders, all right? Because they're not stable. So down at the end of this gallery, it's a great example of showing how the floor stone lays in situ just here. And with the floor stone being a sponge, technically something that's come from the bottom of the sea, it releases moisture and it sucks moisture in. And so therefore just above it, what you can see is where they've used an antler tine to rake away the softer chalk so they could pull it out. So a lot of chalk on the move, a lot of flint on the move. And you could suggest to yourself that, as we've been suggesting, now you've seen it, you've done it, you own it. But I have to disagree. So as we look at the chalk around here, just around here, what you start finding is you start finding these soft little polished cup marks all throughout the roof system. And to make sense of them, what you need to bring in is something like that. So this is a polished axe that was probably hafted up as a polished adze. And guess what? It fits perfectly. So in the mainstay, they were chopping out through the chalk with actual polished axes. Bang goes the myth and bang goes the theory of these being ritual items. These were tools for working with. So now we've met one tool, why don't we go and have a look at another one? As you can see, I'm taking great steps for my own safety here. I'm sure that that's doing a fine job of shoring up that corner, wouldn't you agree? So this one, we're going this way. I'll try not to get lost. Or get you lost, even worse. Stay nice and close. Don't bump into the girders. And round here, we begin to see, not only some amazing floor stone, but we see the tools themselves. Now it's a funny thing, isn't it? Over them 100 years of mining, a lot of these bits and pieces have been taken away and they'll now be laying in drawers in the British Museum. And in some respects it's a good job because they literally littered the floor. The small little corridor I've just brought you down had over 57 antler beams just scattered right across the floor. And it was common for each one of these flint mines to have over 150 to 200 antlers that had been turned into tools, just literally laying cast all over the floors. They're described in books as niches, and what a niche is like specifically an offering. And what I find is quite interesting is that from a flint knapper's perspective, this would be a great tool for making the axes themselves. But when this got a job as being a miner's pick, it stayed as a miner's pick. This one has been torn from the head of the deer, and these ones have naturally been cast. What you then see is you see how they've burnt off the tines and turned it into the tool. And what's really fascinating is that the chalk itself, once it begins to get worked, becomes soft. It becomes a paste, and your hands would have been caked in paste. We'll take a look just here. That's the handprint of the miner himself, 4,000 years old. Another interesting thing which is notable and was noticed by the archaeologists is nearly all of the antlers were cast from the left-hand side of the deer's head, and that works perfectly for a right-handed miner. Flint, chalk, antler, polished axe marks, floor stone. Part of me feels like I should just carry on digging, because I could do with that lump of flint. You can see so deeply just here where they've got that brow tine right in there. It's an obvious question, why didn't they drag it out? Well, they might have taken second thoughts on that particular piece, because you are getting a lot of vertical cracks throughout the material itself, and that could literally be down to the fact that 40 foot of chalk above its head is just literally crushing it. So as you can see, we're in a magical, quite a spiritual place, 40 foot down under the earth, crawling through passages that the miners literally feel they're actually still in. It's like they've gone for a tea break. So on the opposite side of this chamber, or this gallery, there's another little offshoot, and that's got a few things in there I'd like to share with you as well. The roof will begin to get a lot lower, so can you kindly mind your head? Let's go. You might be getting the gist as we move through this gallery that all the flint that's been left behind is still trapped within the walls, and all the floors are clear. And then we come across this. This has always been here. It's a large piece of tabular flint. It hasn't been moved. I kind of like to ask people what they think of this one, and they'll come up with the same answer. It looks like a torso. It's got wonderful shoulders. It's got a wonderful head. It's nice and bumpy in certain places. And I see it as a mother stone. And I believe that the miners probably thought just that. Do you really take the mother stone out of the ground and turn it into 1,000 tools? This is probably one of the finest pieces of flint I've ever seen, and I know for a fact that I could not take that out of this pit, and I couldn't start taking tools from it. It doesn't belong in my hands, and I would imagine that the people who took this out and left it here felt pretty much the same. So here she lays, guarding these old tunnels, you know. She's quite beautiful. And there's a goddess for you. I don't fit. That's better. Now, what I've brought you along to is an interesting little feature right here, because this tunnel here, it doesn't belong to this pit. It belongs to the next one. And what's really great about this is no one's ever been in this tunnel. And when you come through, you're going to be able to see exactly why I can say that. Now, I really would like to go in there for you, but you can see I've already put myself at quite a bit of risk. And that roof there is not my friend. And none of this chalk has ever been moved. And as you start looking, you can see all of the antlers that are poking out of it. It's quite funny how they've laid them there. It's almost like they were being quite arty with the way they sat them in such wonderful poses. Then the colours in there, you know, you're not looking at the clean chalk anymore, you're looking at topsoil. So what that tells us is that is the first soil that's thrown into the pit next door as they'd begun to dig the following pit. There's no footprints in it. It's soft. It's as it landed. That's as it is. You'd think things just couldn't get any better from this point on, wouldn't you? I'll tell you, I'm putting my life at risk for you guys in here. The roof is seriously unstable. But as long as I move about without coming into contact with it, I seem to be all right. There are areas which I've never dared go in. And as you can see, this material here, it's quite easy to move. It's on the move. I'd love to move it all, but I have to be respectful, because that would need recording properly to move out of the way, and I think that needs to be done in a recorded fashion. But the other week a piece of chalk did fall just over there, and there was an antler sticking out, and this is it. Full brow tine, perfectly usable as the person left it there. A wonderful thing, and I know for a fact that that hasn't been touched by anybody because it was covered up. And I was just about to leave here, and then I discovered something else. And I think it's a discovery that's a brand new one. I've never seen it recorded. Just behind me there's a little chamber. There's not enough room for me to get in there. It appears to have come from the opposite direction, and the wall appears to have collapsed and allowed us a view in. So how exciting is that? You guys are about to get a first-class glimpse into something that, as far as I know, no one's ever seen before. And I can tell you, nobody's taken anything from it. It's just as it should look. So I'm going to place that back. I'd love to come in with you, but I'm afraid you're going to have to go in on your own. So what you're looking at here is you're looking at an entrance, a small tunnel hole, and on the floor just below us there's a little heap of chalk. It does appear that that's just literally fallen away. And I certainly have been down here for the last 2 years, but I've never seen this hole. As you go in, what you're going to see is you're going to see that that is just an absolute niche of antlers, just laying sporadically cast around. Look at all that chalk, it's just a mountain of backfill. How fantastic is that? You're literally sitting 4,000 years ago, guys. I don't think I can get you closer to the source than that. Huge red deer antlers laying exactly where they've been, left by the hand of miners from 4,000 years ago. The fingerprints and the stains, they're still on the surface. The work that's gone into creating the antlers, the burning, the discarding, all for the removal of flint. Major flintstone from its day. That's a first-class, undisturbed peek at the past. So that was gallery number 3, and full of amazement and wonder, as you can see. And you've got 5 more galleries in this pit. The way to get to them is through me as well. You can book on to one of my courses on my website. That's the 3 W's, will-lord.co.uk. I'll be running them this year and next year as well. It gets you in here. Sometimes you've got to go to a place to appreciate it the most. And I'm sure that you can imagine that each one of them has got some pretty splendid things to show. It isn't much the same as the same. It's all fascinating. But what I would like to say before I go is, like I said at the beginning, this video was done for you, for my patrons. I totally and utterly respect the fact that you're offering me an opportunity to do this by giving me small donations. So thank you very much for that. And any shares, likes, talking about it, that's so appreciated, and that's going to make it all the more possible. The videos that are going to follow this, I'm going to be bringing some skills to the table, and I'm going to be showing you how to do things and filling in the gaps, normally the gaps that get left behind. So for now, I'm checking out. Thanks for watching. You've been watching Will Lord Patreon channel.